from America's finest city. This is Real Talk San Diego on ESPN 1700.
All right, what's happening, gang? You are back live. This is the second hour of The Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group. And in the studio today, holding true to the designation of tracking down some cool local people and talking about some cool local stuff, Steven Wendroff. This is now, you may or may not even actually know Steven. He's kind of a guy whose local reputation sort of precedes himself because he's been doing what he's been doing since 1984. Does that make you feel old, Steven, when we say that?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, good. I like that spirit about you, brother. A little bit of resistance. My man right there. That's good. And by the way, Steven is prepared to leave us a little better than how he found us. We're going to be getting down into the whole game of business talk from his perspective because he's been holding down the number crunching from behind the lens and the purview of the CPA now for, man, older than maybe some of you have even since you've been born. 1984. Boy, what was 1984? Is that like E.T.?
1984 was second generation. I was the 70s. So that would be my wife, who was the 80s.
I think maybe the first Macintosh came out right around then.
Absolutely.
I'm going to totally butcher some dates. Don't you dare source any of either of those suggestions. They're probably way off. But Steven, so, you know, I have the pleasure of knowing exactly where you reign from. It's a local landmark, but I love it better how you explain it. So why don't you introduce yourself to your fans right now, who you are, what you do, where you do it.
Sounds good. My name's Steve Wendroff. I'm very excited to be on the show tonight or today. We are located in a historical building, Frank the Train Man, on the corner of Park and Washington. Used to be housed with Frank the Train Man, so a lot of the local residents would know the building. We get people from all over the country that have been to train shows and heard about our building that stopped by. So we're very proud to be in that location.
So what was that spot specifically?
That used to be a Mission Federal Bank building. We were located about a mile west of that for 15 years, and we outgrew that location. We were renting various other spots, and finally we decided to make the move. We looked at various places. We saw that place. We made an offer on the spot, and we were lucky to get it. And most CPAs work in office buildings. They don't get the opportunity to get business from drive-by traffic or their location. And I would say 20% of our new business comes just from that location.
I love that stat. I'm so glad that you actually track that. That might be some of the stuff we talk about today when you kind of get into best business practices, because, you know, we could sit here, Steven, and we could go all through, you know, how to put a number here in the form, or maybe the number should go here, you know, and that's cool because you definitely got that down. But I would so much rather tap into your infinite collective wisdom of being able to shepherd people through all the mistakes they've made from a business perspective. One of my favorite things to do is, from an entrepreneurial spirit, is to track the hero's journey with folks that we bring on. And it seems like, I don't know if you could disagree or agree with me on this, but there's sort of a path to the righteousness, you might say, in business, where there's a lot of opportunities to pull off the road. And Lord knows there's a lot of pitfalls and traps along the way. And it seems as though the acid test always circles back to you, right? Because you're sort of the truth serum. Every year, you know, hype it up as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you got a series of numbers. And you could say your commitment is always in your results, right? And at the end of that year, you got to figure out, okay, this is what really happened. This is the truth, right? And once you sprinkle that on there, it gives you an opportunity to be an amazing coach.
Exactly.
Right? To be like a inflection point in all of clients that have come through you over the last several
Well, just
decades.
to expand that thought, people come to us. We're very objective. We don't collect any commissions. We're one of the few people.
Yeah, and hold on. Say more about that, because that's a big part of what you do. So do people realize that a lot of folks who do what you do collect commissions?
Certain people do collect commissions. Even in our industry, we're allowed to get various series licenses, and collect commissions on financial products, insurance, stock.
Which creates a little bit of interesting relationship
Correct.
with that, right?
It's almost impossible to be objective when you're collecting commissions. And people are making a lot of money in that industry.
I'll give you a point for that, brother.
But the point I'm making is that people come to us, they're one of the few people in their lives that they could talk to objectively about their financial situation. They can't talk to their neighbors. They can't talk to family members. Sometimes they can't even talk to their spouse. However, they could talk to us. We could listen to their story, size it up, give them some great financial advice without any other items other than just being objective. So that's what we pride ourselves on.
Steve's located right in the heart of San Diego, gang. You can catch him, by the way, at stevewcpa.com. He's been holding it down since '84 locally. He's over in the old Mission Fed building. What was it before the Mission Fed?
He was the Frank the Train Man.
Right. So say more about that. I don't know if a lot of people even know what that is.
Well, Frank the Train Man was an icon in San Diego. People used to come to him with their Lionel trains to get them fixed, to purchase. And he passed away since, and Mission Federal took over the space, and they built this building. If you look at it, it's the shape of a train. And if you look behind it, there's a massive mural of a train. Not many people get to see that because it's in the back, and it faces the school administration building. Since then, though, the wife has opened up a storefront across the street called Frank the Train Man. They have antique cars and various train sets.
It's super cool. And gang, you know it's a landmark when you drive by it because it's a very unique looking building. And Steve's got his signage all over it. So
by
you
the
can't
way,
miss
my
him.
wife, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to give my wife a plug. She's the one who decorated and did all the interior decorating on the building.
Well, she did a great job. And obviously, she's accounting for 20% of your new business because you said that earlier.
Exactly.
So good job. Hoo-yah to Mrs. Wendroff. And by the way, if you're online right now, you can catch us on the Meerkat Live app so you can ask my man in studio. This is a rare opportunity right now to get someone who's like a local legend. We're going to be hitting him with all kinds of business stuff, and he's definitely going to be leaving us better than how he found us. That's my man, Steven Wendroff. You can catch him at stevewcpa.com. Coming up, Steve, hot seat begins, okay? So we're going to get right into the do's and don'ts of running a business. This is, I guess, from your own personal experience, you could say, and then also how you could suggest people to run their business. It's all kind of part and parcel of the same thing, and that's why we got you live in the stash right now. Real Talk Radio San Diego, gang. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5 Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5 Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most. At closing, why settle for less? 5 Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
Turn it up. My man Steve. All kinds of Steves in the house today, huh? I love it. Sweet Home Alabama. That wasn't in '84, was it, Steve?
No, I'm not the music.
No.
Not the music.
No. Long time before that. What's happening, gang? You are back live. This is The Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Abanias, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group. We're helping folks get into and out of homes right here in San Diego County and moving people with purpose. Purpose, the key element of what we're all about. And I got to believe that, Steve, if that's not sort of on your business card, it's right next to the DNA of your company, what you've been doing right here live in town since 1984 with Steven Wendroff. You're the CPA right there. You can catch him at stevewcpa.com. And I got Steve in the house today because we're talking best practices. We're talking business. We're talking shop. When you got somebody who's got as much collective experience, not just how to run your own business since 1984, but he's been watching all of the hundreds and maybe, dare I say, thousands of clients that he's helped over the last few decades run their businesses, and the people that do it well and the people that don't. That's why we got him live in the stash today. So, Steve, let's pick this conversation up, my man. I want to get into best practices, okay? let's go, maybe in no particular order. What's the first thing that comes up for you that you see that separates the good from the rest?
Well, several things. One, absolutely, you have to know your product. Okay. You have to feel confident in what you're providing. Two, you have to keep your word.
Hold on a second. Let me back up a little bit. So when you say know your product, okay, let's expound on that just a little bit, because that almost feels like sort of a global concept. Like if you lined up 10 different people, they'd have 10 different definitions of what know their product means to them, right? So specifically, what do you mean by that?
Well, in my industry, as an example, sometimes I'll compare ourselves to a car dealership. You go in...
That's a weird thing to compare yourself to.
You go in and you get your car serviced. You go into this one person who wears a suit and tie.
Yeah.
He looks at your car.
Yeah.
He tells you need some brakes.
Yeah.
You need this and that. Tells you how much it's going to be. And then you leave. And then he sends it in the back, and he has all these people working on it. So very similar to us, that we know our product. We know what needs to get done. We analyze the situation, give people a price, and then if we agree on terms, we provide that work. And I have a staff of 12 people that are very capable, some of the smartest people in San Diego, and I'm able to delegate that work to those people. So when I say know your product, you don't have to be the best at what you do, but you have to understand it, and you have to have people either internally that are the best, or you have to have a large Rolodex that if you have an issue, such as if we have a tax problem and we need a tax attorney, we would go ahead and go to our Rolodex, and we have tax attorneys.
I love that you called it a Rolodex. I got to give you a point just for calling it a Rolodex, because something tells me that you actually might have a Rolodex on your desk.
I think we have an Apple contact list.
Yeah. So, and there's something that you said, too, that I think that it draws something out for me, and it has to do with the concept of competence, okay? Not the frame that you think I might be explaining, but like, for example, a good one in my business are contractors, okay? Because there are actual carpenters, and then there's contractors. Right? So it's like the contractor's the one that goes out there, like you said, suit and tie, kind of hustles it up. And then all of a sudden you agree to whatever the terms of the job are and the price. And then someone else shows up the next day and starts doing all the work.
Exactly.
Versus the carpenter who's doing the negotiation, who actually shows up the next day and does all the work. And it's interesting I watch a lot of my clients have kind of a challenge with that, because they think they're hiring that person and then they technically get somebody else. And so there's a fine line there, is there not, Steve? Like, making sure that there's congruence and cohesiveness all the way through, not just a delegation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could go directly, in your example, to the carpenter and possibly get a better price. But when you go to the contractor, that's the person that's ultimately liable.
Right.
And they're going to get the job done. If the carpenter calls in sick or has issues, the contractor is going to figure out what needs to be done to get the job done. Same with us. When they come to us, they may pay a little more, but they know they're going to get the job done.
Fair enough. I love that. Good. That's definitely true in our business as well. There's definitely discount brokerages everywhere, but you get what you pay for, as they say, right?
Exactly.
So let's move on. So that's know your product. Thank you for backtracking. And then what you said was next was...
return.
Go ahead.
The other thing, in fact, the client of ours, a contractor, in fact, pointed this out to us.
Okay.
And I go, why are you so successful? He builds homes, does a lot of remodels. He goes, Steve, it's very simple. Return phone calls. I can't tell you how many of our peers, contractors, you call, you leave a message, you don't hear from them for a week. Very simple. You return phone calls. We have a staff, like I mentioned. Every one of the staff is provides that service, returns phone calls, gives good customer service. It's very simple. It doesn't take a lot to return phone calls.
Yeah, I know that's part of your mantra, too, is to keep it simple. But I'll tell you what, man, so far, this is sounding really good, because all you got to do is know a product and return phone calls, and you can be successul in business locally for, the last 3 decades. There we go. Let's drop
the third thing that's just as important is keep your word. If you're going to tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Whatever it takes to get it done, get it done. If you tell them it's going to be done in 3 days, a week, make sure it's going to get done in 3 days or a week.
I know you got an example for us on this, because this is one of those things where you hear it said and it's like, yeah, obvious, but people want to do the whole white lie thing because they're trying to protect people.
I do have a good example.
Please.
To think of it. Here's a shout out to Karen in our office.
All right.
So we have a client that had a trampoline business, and we've been meeting with them for several months. They started in the summer. And they had another, we talked about doing their work, their tax returns. Their due date was April 15th. And they said, no, we're going to go to this other guy, and he's a little cheaper, and we know him. And I said, that's fine. If you need any help, let us know. And never heard from him, figured everything was taken care of. And then we get a call on April 10th. This guy hasn't started the work. He hasn't even knows what he's doing. We're in a bind. What can we do? Can you help us? I go, absolutely, we could help you. I said, give us your information. We'll get it done in 4 days. And that's exactly what we did. So that's an example of keeping your word to a timeline.
That's kind of an intense. Let's just say that objects in that mirror might appear a little closer than they really are, because I don't think you want everybody calling you 4 days before a deadline just so you can keep your word. But it's what's made you successful, and it's gotten you to where you are today, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What would be number 4 on that list?
Staff. I mean, I have peers. We do the most tax returns in San Diego of any sole proprietor.
Really?
In San Diego as
Wow.
a sole proprietor. And I get many peers that are just amazed on the amount of productivity we have. And over the years, I've tried to give them guidance and look at their situation and where it differs from ours, had them come to our office, look at our processes. And it finally dawned on me just a few months ago what the difference is. The difference is staff. I have staff that's been with me over 25 years. I have staff that's been with me over 15 years, all competent. And that's the difference. You got to treat your employees good. You have to respect them. You have to give them challenge. You have to delegate work. You have to trust them. And you have to be flexible. Everybody wants time off. Everybody has issues. It's a new school. It took a while to understand the new school, but you have to be flexible.
It's remarkable. If you just heard what Steven shared, it took him almost all of his 31 years to realize that arguably, and you could interchange these easily, but your fourth tenet of successful business is staff, is people.
And that could be number one.
It could easily be number one. I would definitely agree with that. And the trick with people is that you've heard the old adage, hire slow, fire fast. And you've heard that, there's a lot of people, even in my business, where, never have an employee, only independent employees are the bane of. But, it's interesting on the road to success. We've been doing this for 15 years now, and we've gone through several different incarnations of our company as well. And we realize the exact same thing, is that in order to get from where you are to where you want to be, it's a people-powered business.
Absolutely.
And what you pay for, a theme we just mentioned earlier in your own private business, is what you get.
Absolutely.
You can find $10 an hour people, and they come and they go, and you can go out and you can hire great talent, and they'll actually help you further your cause.
Absolutely. And we do have a mixture of employees and contractors. And can I say one's better than the other? Contractors, you're kind of working towards their schedule. Employees are working to my schedule.
Well, it depends on their work, too. Like, if you dictate what time they come into the office and stuff, they have to be an employee.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it depends, too. But you're absolutely right, because independent contractors, they're kind of just doing their own thing. They're project-based, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they could be more than project-based, but they beat to their own drum.
Fair enough. Okay, let's round out this list before the break then. What would number 5 be?
Well, you got to watch your money. There's no question about it.
Right.
I mean, you have to know how much money you're bringing in and how much money you're spending. I remember 30 years ago when I first started, and I was shopping for furniture. And 30 years from now, I still remember this, where the furniture store, in fact, it's on Miramar Road, I think they're still in business, said, Steve, I know you're going to be successful. I go, you do? How do you know that? I go, I have these people coming in, starting out, buying top-of-the-line furniture. Here you're looking at used furniture. That's the way to do it. Start slow and build.
And what he wasn't telling you is that his margins happen to be highest on the used furniture.
That he did not share with me.
Stupid joke. Hey, so here's a point, I think, where another, you might say orientation of obviousness. Okay, my buddy Mark Devine, Navy SEAL here locally, he mentions about that in combat. You have to always orient yourself to what's obvious, right? And watching your pennies is one of those things. But it's so easy to get ahead of yourself, is it not? You get some wind behind your sails, you close some good clients, you get some momentum going. Next thing you know, you got the fancy car. Next thing you know, you're signing up for a bunch of services that you think are going to get you a lot of leads, but then they don't end up panning out.
Absolutely.
So how do you do that?
Well, let me take that a step further.
Yeah.
We have people that have been coming in our office for 20 years that could be making $1 million. And they'll spend $1.3 million every year and always be broke. And then we have clients coming in making $50,000 and saving $20,000 every year. So that's a perfect example that nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
So if you're having some good years, I would stash it away.
That's why we got Steven Wendroff in the house today, gang. And by the way, if you want to tap into some of his infinite wisdom for your own business, or you do personal returns too, right?
Correct.
Yeah, privately. You can catch him. He's right here in the heart of San Diego. He's in the old Frank the Train building right over there.
Got it.
In, I think it's up Park in Washington, if I remember correctly. He's been doing this since 1984. You can catch him at stevewcpa.com. One more time, that's stevewcpa.com. And coming up, Steven, we're going to keep this game and this party rolling, brother. We're about 5 into it. I feel like we got about 5 or 6 to go. And I thank you so much for being in the house, leaving everybody a little better than how we found us right now. You're going to get caught up right now with some sports updates here, middle of the hour. And we'll be right back with Steven Wendroff.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
What's happening, gang? You are live back in the Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group locally, helping folks get into and out of homes and moving people with purpose is what we're all about. And in the studio today, we got someone local phenom. Can I call you a phenom? Is that fair, Steve?
You'd have to define that word.
Local phenom. It just happened, so we're just going to roll with it. Steven Wendroff. He is the perennial CPA around town, owner of Steve Wendroff CPA. You can catch him, by the way, at stevewcpa.com. By the way, when you're on his site, sign up for his free newsletter. It's probably one of the most distributed newsletters for his domain, allegedly. At least I'll say anyway. You're like #1 on Google. So it's got to have a lot to do with that. A lot of people clicking his stuff, so please be somebody who is smart and do that for yourself as well. Steve's here to get all your questions answered about CPA, about numbers, about business coaching, about some advice, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's exactly what we're riffing on today in the Stash. Picking up where we're leaving off also, we're talking about best practices. So some of the ways how to run a business successfully, some of the ways that he's watched people run their business successfully. We started off with knowing your product, about returning phone calls, which is hilarious, but so true and so simple. And knowing exactly like when to keep your word and what that actually means to the integrity of a business. And you left out a great story. You shared us with a great story about that as well. Staff could easily be #1, but definitely something you've learned. Took you about 31 years, you said, give or take a year to figure that out for yourself. And then watching your pennies. Now, Steve, something about you that people might not know, they're not thinking about it in terms of CPA, but you won an award. You were nominated the healthiest company. Is that true?
Just recently.
Yeah, so share more about that and why, and tie it into why that's so important as a business owner.
Well, we have very healthy people in our office. It's one of our main objectives is to have a healthy lifestyle. And it's so important, obviously, just to be healthy, to think straight, to feel good, to have energy. I mean, we have one gal in our office, Susie Korth, who does 100-mile bike rides. We have We sponsor various marathons and 10Ks, 5Ks in our office. We cater food in, definitely during tax season, once a week, healthy food. People take lots of time off. They're flexible. It's just extremely important to have a healthy lifestyle. That's one thing over the generations that we just didn't realize. Back in the day, my dad died at a very young age from a heart attack, but he didn't know any better, eating meat and potatoes every night, not exercising. It's just so important to live a healthy lifestyle.
Not that there's anything wrong with meat and potatoes.
to moderately.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think the thing that's coming up for me, and I love how you you took that back to where you started. You'd even acknowledged that it's not where you began. But if that's sort of an ideology, and everybody can easily say to themselves, I mean, come on, it's almost like this is the theme of the show. Like everybody can say to themselves almost all these things, but then to actually get it into practice. Like we talked about how good people are, but like how did you make that transition to being just average shop, everybody doing what everybody's doing, to actually being a leader so that you now are nominated the healthiest company?
I don't have an answer for that. I think it's inborn. I think it's just personality, being flexible.
So was it like who you actually hired, who you sought out, or did people who were already there, was there a transformative element from within?
There was just definitely a transformative element. I mean, when we were to interview, not that far distance, prospective employees would come in our office and just shocked me. Basically, they would say, what can I do for them versus the old days, what we could do for you. And it took a while to understand just this new generation. Mm-hmm. And who's to say if it's right or wrong? Time will tell, but you're forced to be flexible, and it works. As long as you're getting what you need out of it, there's nothing wrong with being flexible.
Balanced life and exercise. What comes up for me is that the same person that is coming to work is the same person that's at work, is the same person that's going home. And so if you have discipline and you slept well and you ate well and your heart rate, at a steady, I mean, I'm being ridiculous, but I mean, the truth is how you play off the court is exactly proportional to how you're going to play on the court, right? So having that environment is also going to create for better employees, more effectiveness, more efficiency, happier environment. And everybody knows that. The happier the workplace, the more stuff gets done, the happier it is to actually interact with them as clients. All this stuff, it's all part and parcel of that same concept, is it not?
Absolutely. And you asked, how do you get started? I mean, somebody told me a long time ago, if you do something for 20 straight days, it becomes a habit. So you have to force yourself to do it. If it's just walking around the block, you do it every morning. If it's going to the gym, you do it every morning. If it's riding a bike, if you do it for 20 straight days, after that 20th day, it's just automatic. It's the first step's always the hardest.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep on that list then. I think we got through that. You got it. I mean, I got it. You got it. Hopefully you got it right now listening live. What's next? Keeping it simple? I know that's one of your...
Keeping it simple is very important.
Not talking over people's head?
Well, we're dealing with a complicated situation, people's finances.
Or as complicated as they want it to be.
Or as complicated as they want it to be.
Yeah.
And you could talk technical all day long. You could talk over the head all day long, terminology. But know your audience. Know your audience. If they just want the bottom line, you tell them the bottom line. If they want what went into the bottom line, you discuss it. But you keep it simple. You make them feel important. You be sincere. You just keep it simple.
Yeah. And, the concept of taxes, it's almost in the root word, like it's just a taxonomy of what happened that year, right? And then put to the lens of what their goals and objectives are and what they're trying to accomplish. And all of it sort of it shuffles down and distills into that person's pecuniary profile, right? So the simplicity of it should already be sort of embedded into the whole dynamic, and then we make it really, really difficult. Do we not?
Correct. I mean, we could look at somebody's annual activity for the year and within 15 minutes be able to analyze and size up what kind of year they had. Simple as that.
you've been listed as one of the top CPAs, I think, in, what was it, the Business Journal?
Business Journal.
Yeah. How does somebody go to becoming, I know you've been doing this for a long time, so you have that stretch, but, third-party accolades and, being acknowledged by, come on, Business Journal. I mean, this, that's what everybody's kind of striving for, to get to that level. How do you get to that level? Like, what did you do in your path to be able to become, top CPA locally in the Business Journal?
Well, at one time, we were a small shop, maybe 3-4 people, a lot of work, starting to get burnt out, and just tried to figure out what would be my next avenue. So we decided to go into outsourcing. Basically, we take over an accounting department of a company, anywhere from $100,000 in revenue to $50 million in revenue. So we act as the accounting department, pay their bills, do their payroll, do their financial statements. And by doing this, it enabled me to hire staff. So we basically doubled our staff within a few months. And that allowed me to free up my time and hire good people. So that was a big transition. Moving to that building was a big transition. We picked up a lot of new business from that building. So it was a combination of several factors that enabled us to grow.
How was that voted on?
As far as what?
It's like to get, top CPA in the Business Journal.
Oh, it's based on staff. It's based on staff. San Diego.
Now, the one thing that's near and dear to our heart is the peer-sourced stuff. Like, we've been, listed as one of the top brokerages, best of Yelp, they call it, on the people who have actually gone through your process and then go back and they share your experience. And I noticed that you've been voted highly on Yelp as well, and that's a big part of the peer-based stuff. And so, what is it about your process that you think lends so well to somebody having a good experience when they're going through something like taxes, which a lot of people kind of equivocate to dentistry?
Right, exactly. We get that comment. It's like going to the dentist.
Yeah.
We're a very efficient office. People come in. People do not. There's 3 people that come to our office. One is you send somebody a postcard, sign it, send it back. It's too confusing. So those are the people that are willing to spend the money. 2, it's the secondary source that doesn't mind spending the money, just not to have to deal with it. So we get that middle ground.
Doesn't want to have to deal with what specifically?
Mostly tax. So it's just complicated. They don't want to deal with it.
Okay, fair enough.
They'd rather pay somebody to take it off their desk.
I can definitely appreciate that.
Okay. And the third is very complicated, and they need outside professional help. So those are the 3 types of sources that we have. And we keep it efficient. People come in, we make it easy for them. We have processes. We get many, many compliments about, wow, I lost sleep over this. I come in here, you make me feel great. You make it easy. I sign a few forms, and I'm done for another year. That's one example. That's on the tax side. On the accounting side, the same thing. We just make it easy, customer service. If somebody needs something, we go the extra mile to make it happen. Simple as that. And
in Steven obviously talking about his game, which he's got tight and on point right now, you're also drawing some of these same level of experience that we've been riffing on for the last 45 minutes. I mean, these are the basics, guys. How to run a business successfully in San Diego, how you've watched people run their businesses successfully in San Diego. Nobody better than the guy who is tasked with the ultimate scorecard at the end of every game. I would say maybe the end of the season, you might say, right? The tax year, to be able to see the people that are doing it well versus the people that maybe not so well. And coming up, my man, I think we're going to put a bookend on the end of this little conversation. I feel confident that we have vetted through a lot of those principal elements. You've shared a little bit about yourself, and Steven's got a little secret to share with you on the backside of this break. So, Real Talk Radio San Diego, you're in the stash, baby, and we'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
What's happening, gang? You are back live in the Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Abanius, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group, helping folks get into and out of homes. And I'm flanked in Real Talk Radio San Diego right now by a local legend, Steven Wendroff, owner of Steve Wendroff CPA, but you can find him at stevewcpa.com. And when you're on there, click on his newsletter, okay? Kind of a big deal. That's all I'm going to say. Not just numbers and stuff like that. You keep it real with your newsletter. And you're gonna definitely want to check that out. Stay connected with Steve because this man knows his business. He's been doing this locally since 1984. You can catch him right up here in the heart of San Diego. His historic location, which was the old Frank the Train Man building, you can find on Park in Washington. And 31 years in the game, my man. Dropping some knowledge on the Stash Nation in ESPN Radio right now for your noon hour and wrapping up this conversation about best practices. So running a business, watch people how they've successfully ran their businesses. And your big secret, I think anyway, I kind of set you up that way, is, okay, you got it. You did it right. You figured it out. You got some good coaching. But now what? What are you going to do with it, right? And this is where I think a lot of folks in your game sort of drop the conversation off. And then they kind of fend for you to go figure it out on your own. But you've got some suggestions for us, and you've watched how some people in your portfolio have successfully, what they have done since they've made their money. Why don't you share some best practices in that capacity?
Thank you very much. Yes, now people that, if you made some money, what do you do with it? The ultimate goal is to be able to retire healthy. So how do you get to that retirement point? The best way is through passive income. So you've made your money in your business, working hard. What do you do with that extra money?
Hey, I'm raising my hand over here. We know about passive income, right?
Exactly. Do you go buy a new car, you buy a bigger house, or do you take that money and possibly diversify? Do you buy rental property? Do you fund all your pension plans? Do you diversify your portfolio into stocks and bonds? The ultimate goal is to have income coming in without working. So at the point you have enough income coming in without working, you finally can make the decision, do you want to retire or not?
Right. Do you? And that's the key. Do you want to?
Exactly. Not everybody wants to retire.
Right.
But just having that peace of mind, knowing you can, will probably add 10 years to your life. So what do you do with that? If you go to Jesse, you find out what kind of real estate's available.
Well, I appreciate that shameless plug, my man.
You find some rental property. Make sure when you're buying rental property, you're not going to have any problem renting it out. You don't want vacancies, so you want to buy property in a good area.
Hey, by the way, too, I will actually ride on those coattails because we just had a property that came up right here in the heart of San Diego in Linda Vista. So just down the road a little bit. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's actually being listed right now for $400. But here's the key. Is that we cooked up some math what the rates are right now. Even with non-owner occupied financing, it's still cash flows.
Exactly.
And that's how crazy the rates are right now. You can literally buy a property at market and still have it make sense.
Exactly. And the trick also is to try to start as early as possible.
Right.
So if you were buying this place that Jesse had in mind, the goal would be after a certain amount of time is to try to get that mortgage paid off so you have that rental income coming in that would supplement your retirement.
Right.
So the earlier you start, the better you are. Any money you can put into your pension plan, Roth IRAs, 401s from work, those are the keys to create passive income and have a vehicle to retire.
And I love, Steve, and this is obviously almost to be expected considering your amount of collective intelligence you've amassed. You know, your vision to be able to see the conversation all the way through has got to be one of your greatest gifts, if not the purpose of why you're in business. And speaking of that, you've also done something really great for Stash Nation listeners right now. In case you are looking for a CPA, in case this is something where you're like, hey, man, you know, Steven has definitely spawned something in this conversation, or who knows, maybe you just don't even have any help right now and you're looking for somebody good. He's offering up $100 off preparation for your next tax return for new clients, right? And if you mention that you heard him right here live on ESPN, he'll offer this up, $100 off for first time. That's really cool of you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate that for Stash Nation. Any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
Well, I definitely want to thank Jesse for allowing us to share this hour with him. I definitely appreciated it, and I wish everybody the best. Keep it simple, live a healthy life, and all good should come about it.
And in summary, know your product, core competence, return phone calls. I love that one. Keep your word. Focus on good staff. Watch your money. Live a balanced life. Have a good office with exercise, as part of sort of the nature and the culture of what you guys do. Because, again, who goes home at night is the same person who's there 8 hours a day holding it down and actually contributing to the collective. And then don't talk over people's head. I love it, my man. Steven, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out in the Stash today. And take advantage of Steven Wendroff's $100 off offer. Go to his site right now, stevewcpa.com. And I know it's not tax time right now, so in the meantime, at least get his free newsletter because it's kind of cool. It's kind of popping. You got all kinds of stuff on there, not just CPA stuff on there. You got cool stuff as well, exactly. Lifestyle elements. And Steven, once again, man, thanks for hanging out in the Stash. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you.
You bet. And Stash Nation, we'll be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, next week from 10 o'clock till noon, holding it down for Real Talk Radio San Diego. Thanks for hanging out.